we got some more Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So as I promised before, on Friday or Saturday, I'm going to be doing these Apple News podcasts where I actually go over about 20 different Apple News stories. So if you're interested in Apple News on a Friday and Saturday, sit back and relax. We're going to have some fun. I always start off with a beer too. So on these Friday or Saturday night podcasts, today I have a beer by Deschutes. It's called a Jubal Ale, and it's a powerhouse here. If you look at my screen over here, it's called a Festive Winter Ale. With it has hints of toffee and dusted cocoa, and it does, 6.7%. This is pretty strong right here, but it's one of those things that warms you up in the winter, so I know it's becoming summer here in Chicago area, but it's still a little bit nippy out there, so I'm going to have one of these. Anyways, long story short, we're going to get into the Apple News here, 20 different stories. Let's get into it. And if you have never been with me before, I kind of give usually a cynical side to some of the stories. We have some fun with them. Let's get into it. All right, story number one is actually pretty interesting. It says right here, rumor, M4 MacBook Pro with AI enhancements expected by the end of 2024. Pretty crazy, right? It says barely half a year after the introduction of the M3 chips and ahead of the likely M3 Ultra chip, which should launch hopefully at WWDC. They're actually starting to produce M4 chips, it's saying, and they say that it's going to actually be, the lineup is expected to start in late 2024 with the M4 chip. So if you're one of those people waiting and you want to buy, you're always like, should I buy, should I not buy? I always tell people buy, because this thing never stops changing. It's always going. You never know what you're going to get. Who knows if this is actually correct? But if it's really true, that's pretty crazy, because some of the computers like the Studio haven't even gotten the M3 yet. Okay, on the second story, here's where I begin my rant. It didn't take too long today. But anyways, you know how much I love AI. I don't like it. Here it says Google's Pixel 8 flagship AI photo editing feature coming to iPhones. This is from Mac Rumors. As you can see here, it's saying that if you use Google Photos, you have this feature where it can look at this photo. You can barely see it, it's too small. But it has these people here, and all of a sudden it changes it to a nice sunny day with the cloud. I mean, is this reality? What's going on with the world? I mean, let's just talk about this. Let's say you take a picture of this. Let's say this is you right here, and then you use Google's, in 5 years from now, is it going to change from this to this? I mean, where are we going with this? Do people have to become more beautiful? I mean, is reality even reality anymore? Why not just not even take a photo, right? Isn't a photo what it's supposed to be at that exact moment? If you change it, what is the use of having a photo? That's what I'm asking. Is this guy that guy that I just showed you? No, but who cares, right? That's the reality of what we're in, and that's what's coming in the future, I think, with AI. All right, next story is from Apple Insider. It says all of the specs of the iPhone SE4 may have just been leaked. May have been. Take it with a grain of salt. But anyways, this is interesting. So down here it says it's the iPhone 4. Well, what it says, it's going to resemble the iPhone 13 more than the iPhone 14. So keep that in mind. And it might come out either at the end of this year or 2025. But it says it's rumored. Here's the iPhone SE4. Here's the dimensions in millimeters and grams. I'm from the United States, so I don't know what that means really. It says appearance though, 7000 series aluminum alloy, right angled frame, front and rear glass. Who cares about all that, right? Long story short though, some of the interesting stuff down here is it says that it'll include 6 gigs of RAM compared to 4 gigs of RAM on the previous model. Should be about 6.1 inches. So it's a big enough phone. It's not going to be that little tiny phone anymore. It's going to have the Apple's A16 Bionic, which is way faster than most people need anyway. So it might be a good definitely pick here. I don't know what the price is actually. It doesn't really say. But if the price holds kind of in that range, this might be a good one coming up. And you might not need to get those flagship Apple phones. All right, here's one that's kind of funny, but we'll see if this actually transpires. It says Microsoft thinks ARM Windows laptops will eclipse M3 MacBook Air performance this year. You notice it says M3 MacBook Air, not like the Pros and stuff, which is kind of weird, right? Isn't it kind of weird? But anyways, it says, if I scroll down here, it says Microsoft is so confident in these new Qualcomm chips. Basically, that's what they're going to be shipping with. It's planning a number of demos that will show how these processors are really faster than the M3 MacBook Air. But what about the Pros? And how much are they going to cost? But it says with AI acceleration, I hate that AI, and even app emulation. So it's basically claiming that, from The Verge and stuff, that these are going to be faster. It's going to be faster than actually Rosetta 2. Long story short is I actually hope this happens. I'm an Apple channel, I'm a Mac channel, but I hope this happens because it's going to just push Mac a little bit further, the M4s, the M5s. So this is all good for tech. Let them be as fast as they want to be. I don't care. I actually use it for the OS so much, not so much for the speed of it. It's already fast enough. All right, before the next story, I need a quick sip of this. And that really does warm you up. Be careful with it, it's very strong. Anyways, it says, what's next with the Mac Studio and Mac Pro? by 9 to 5 Mac. So what they're kind of saying is, in a nutshell, is the Mac Studio is going to ship early, maybe in a couple months or a month or two with the M3 Ultra, M3 Max chips. So you're going to get that in the Studio, all right, the Mac Studio. But the Mac Pro right here is not expected to ship until 2025 right here. So Mac Pro is expected to debut later in 2025, but with the M4 chip inside right here. So they're working on that new M4 chip. They don't think it's even going to be a combination of two Ultras. It's going to be its own chip without that kind of connecting die. So it's going to be super fast, but we're waiting until the end of 2025, it's saying here, for the Mac Pros. So I don't even know why they come out with the Mac Pro anymore. Why don't they just put it in the Studio, the Mac Studio? It's a lot smaller frame and stuff. I know people maybe use some of those graphic cards and stuff, but I still think it's kind of a dead, the Mac Pros, they don't sell too many of them. But I guess it's better than nothing if they actually ship it with this new Ultra chip that's going to be on the M4 architecture. All right. So what does Apple do here? This is the next story. So everyone knows these iMacs. I have one sitting here. You can't see the front of it, but the front of it actually is obviously this kind of baby blue. And everyone says, why don't they make the front of it the same color as the back or somewhere down here? Make it darker. We don't like these pastel colors. So Apple listens, right? And what do? Take a look. iPhone 16 rumored to come in these 7 colors. Look at the colors it's shipping with, all pastels again. So not only is the iMacs going that way, but now they're changing to the iPhones as well. So for all it matters here, it says blue, pink, yellow, green, black, white. White will finally be in there, and purple. Those are the new colors for the 2024 iPhone 16 Plus. Apple listened to us, and they did the exact opposite again. Anyways, I'm not carrying any of these colors around. Maybe the white's fine, obviously, but these other ones, I mean, these are all, I guess, kind of girlish colors, and I'm not a girl, so at the end of the day, I just don't like those. And you tell me, shouldn't they make these a little bit darker? All right, so we have a couple deals now, and these are not really the best deals, but let's take a look at them anyway. This one's from Apple Insider. It says, Apple's M2 MacBook Air drops to an all-time low of $849 in the latest price war. Is that really a good deal? It's the M2. For a second, I thought it was the M3. It's obviously the 13-inch. It says B&H initially offered M2 MacBook Air for $849. Best Buy is now offering the same deal. You can get it from both of those companies. $849, I think, is a fair deal. I think this is just the base model, though. They do show some stuff down here. So here we go. $849 for the base model, and then $1049 with the 512. That's not too bad. But you get up to here, $1499 with 16 gigs and 1 terabyte. It's up there, but it's still a pretty good deal if you want that full 1 terabyte SSD. And then $2,099. I wouldn't even think of an Air with that, but that comes with 2 terabytes and 24 gigs. So overall, they're not the best, but they're out there. This next one is maybe, you tell me, is this even a good deal? Apple Insider deals Apple M3 MacBook Pro 14-inch with 1 terabyte storage drops to $1799. So if you kind of scroll down here, it says, let me just see here, it says with the Apple's M3 chip, so this is not the M3 Pro, it's just the M3, 16 gigs of RAM, that's an upgrade, and then also 1 terabyte for $1799. I guess that is a really good deal, but you have to use this Apple, go to Apple Insider, and I can have a link to them, but you basically have to go to Apple Insider and use their kind of, they sell through, they have a reseller of somebody, and they have to actually use their codes and stuff to get this price. So if you want this, check out Apple Insider and follow that. I'm not going to deal with it right now. All right, for the next one, this is one of the things we've been talking about a lot in these blogs. We always talk about China and how Apple's trying to move away from them very quietly so they don't cause too many waves because they don't want to be cut off fully. Here's an article on Apple Insider saying 14% of all iPhones now come from India. So it says that India now has produced around 14 billion worth of iPhones, or approximately 14% of Apple's iPhones. For Apple, obviously, their iPhone is the biggest thing by far and makes up a massive percentage of their business. Macs are like this big over here compared to the iPhones. So they're slowly moving things away from China in a way that they don't disrupt. All of a sudden they're like 14%, then 15%, 16%. In a year or two, it's going to be 18, 19. And then finally, China will wake up and maybe shut down those factories and they'll have to go over somewhere else. So that's what I think is happening slowly. We'll find out, though. I know they want to kind of diversify everything, which is really smart. But now it's 14%. Maybe your iPhone came from India. This next one's going to take me 2 seconds to report on. Here we go. It says the do's and don'ts for cleaning your dirty AirPod Pros in a charging case. All right, listen to me. I got a perfect way out of this thing. So instead of reading the article, I can tell you right away what to do. The do's and don'ts. Number 1, clean your AirPods. Make sure they're clean. Don't make them gross. Number 2, don't show me what they look like when they're gross. I hate pictures that go in there. So number 1, clean them. Number 2, don't show me what they look like. If they are dirty, it's super gross. And that's all you got to know, right? We're done. All right, this next article is about teenagers. Now, I think Apple needs to take a step back because in America especially, in all of basically Europe, a lot of teenagers are becoming the minorities and the older people are becoming the majorities of the entire population. You got to think about that. I think in the past everyone said, oh, if a teenager likes something, this is a good thing. But I mean, the populations are shifting so much. People aren't having as many kids and stuff. This is going to be a problem. But anyways, they still do these studies. So it says teenagers still overwhelmingly want iPhone and Apple Watch more than any other brand. I think we know that, right? It's saying down here that, first of all, it's funny. It says that, out of all the teenagers, it says, however, Apple's 36% is a drop. So that 36% of all teenagers want the iWatch, basically, or the Apple Watch. But then it says the number 2 is the Rolex, 34%. Kind of funny, right? I want a Rolex too, but I'm not going to get one. I mean, who wants to spend $10,000 on a watch? I want something. You can wish with one thing, and you watched that whole movie before, right? I think it's from Grumpy Old Men. You know the reference. Anyways, let's keep going here. So long story short, this is more interesting. Here's a chart here. I'll actually bring this chart up over here. It shows that the number of iPhones, this is for iPhones now. Look at this. So it looks like around almost 90%, or 80-something% of people over here teenagers own an iPhone in the United States. 85%. And this is how many people expect to get one on the next phone. So it's actually going up slightly. Although look at this, it's kind of held steady or gone down slightly here with the other, but it's really holding steady. So almost all teenagers, 86%, own or want an iPhone, which I believe, but it's just kind of crazy to me. So that's where Apple is, obviously. Now with streaming services, here it says teen and Apple services. So if you look here, Spotify is number 1. It's up here. These are people that pay for it. 70% of teenagers, it looks like, pay for Spotify. And then Apple Music's down like 30-something% down here. And then you got YouTube Music, Prime Music, and then some other things in here. The question that I have here, and again, coming from an older person, just hear me out, post it in the comments. Why are people even paying for Spotify or paying for Apple Music or paying for YouTube Music? I just pull up YouTube in my car and I stream it. I get it for free, right? Why would I pay for something when I can go to YouTube, put anything in the world in, and just stream it somewhere for free? Why in the world do I need something like Spotify or something? You tell me, am I too old for this? I don't understand it. Why would I pay any money for that? Post in the comments, I want to know. All right, Apple's slowly changing. They're slowly kind of, they have to, I guess sometimes lawsuits make you do certain things, but here we go. Apple now sells classic game emulators on the App Store. So down here it says, a change in the App Store rules reverse a very old rule that prohibited emulators on iPhone and the iPads. One of the App Store's longest-standing rules is a prohibition of apps that run external code. This has been, the de facto ban on console and gaming emulators in the past. So now Apple's opened this up where there's going to be emulators where you can, go back and play some old games on your Mac, which is going to be awesome, like old Atari games, old Nintendo games, all that kind of stuff. Whether that, downloading the ROMs is legal, that's a whole other story. But I'm not going to actually go through all the rules, but it says specifically Apple says that the following provisions must be followed. I'll put this up on the screen and then you guys can pause it if you want to read all of them. But it's basically following privacy guidelines, including a method for filtering objectionable materials, use of in-app purchases to offer digital goods and services to end users. Apps may not extend or expose native platform APIs. You get the idea. So you can read through all that stuff. They have a whole list of rules, but they're finally opening it up. All right, so if you've always noticed how happy Tim Cook is, whenever you see him, he's smiling and he's always having a great time. I think this is the reason. It says right here, Tim Cook makes $16 million from selling Apple shares, but that's obviously just pennies to him. If you look down here, it says Cook sold 196,000 shares, basically, and he made $33.4 million. Basically, before taxes. I guess after taxes, it's around 16 million, which is kind of crazy, right? But it says the sums are a fraction of the estimated 355 million he made selling 5 million shares in 2021. So he made almost $400 million then. And then it's also a little bit less than when he got 41.5 million in October of 2023. So this guy is selling every few months 35 to $41 million. Plus sometimes $355 million. So I think at the end of the day, you think he's like maybe a good spokesperson. He's always smiling. He's always upbeat for everything. Wouldn't you be? Let's just be honest. If you were making that kind of money. Here's another interesting one, I guess. It says right here, Apple TV share grows in the U.S. but still lags behind its competition. So, I don't use Apple TV to be honest with you. I really don't. But down here it says, you can see in these charts here, Prime Video is number 1 here, then Netflix, then Max, then Disney, then Hulu, then Paramount, then Apple TV way down here. It's got like, 8 or something percent. It's growing. You can see the line going up. Obviously, they're all kind of growing, except Max is going down, Disney's going down, Hulu's going down. But these other ones are growing. Obviously, Prime Video, I don't really count that because you pretty much have to get that for free if you do the shipping, and everyone's got Amazon Prime. So we can scratch that one off. I guess they make you do that. But Netflix is up here still. It looks like it's growing. I don't know if I agree. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that. But anyways, Apple's way down here. So you guys tell me, do you guys use Apple TV, and what is your kind of preferred choice? All right, some good news for Apple if you use Safari. It says from 9 to 5 Mac, Apple touts major 60% leap in Safari and WebKit performance. So I guess over these last few, well, actually, let me just say down here. It says, with all these optimizations and dozens more, we were able to improve the overall speedometer 3.0 score, that's a benchmark, by 60% between Safari 17 and 17.4. So long story short, I haven't noticed it, but have you noticed it? Safari, using it and browsing the web and stuff, has increased 60% over that time. Really kind of, I guess, cool, but do you really need it to be any faster? Mine's just so fast, I don't even notice it. All right, so 1 second. This next one is actually going to be funny. I need to take a sip, though. So here it is. Mandatory broadband nutrition labels will reveal real speeds and hidden fees, all right? Take a step back from this. I think everyone wants this, right? It says, from 9 to 5 Mac, I don't know if it's going to come like this, but supposedly if you're doing broadband or you're buying it, they're making them now basically have a label that tells you a whole bunch of information about it, which is good. If you go, let's just take a look at the label. They're going to have to tell you this month's price, is it an introductory rate or not? Yes or no. Time that the introductory rate applies to, how many months. Monthly price after the introductory rate, that's important. Length of the contract, and then other stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I mean, they're going to show you, it's going to have to give you fees and what are the fees and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to give you kind of a label where you get that information right away. What is the true speed of the connection you're getting? What if you don't get that, do you get money back? All this stuff is going to be disclosed. I think it's been a long time coming. I think it's actually a good thing, even though I don't like too much oversight. This is not bad. This next one's cool. So here's Apple Vision Pro is already making the Meta Quest 3 better. So how is that possible? Well, I guess if you look in here, it says Meta Quest 3 hit the market last year for $499, and that's $3,000 less than the Pro, obviously, but with the same global colorization pass-through for mixed reality. So it says the only problem was that Meta's version of pass-through is hardly comparable to Apple's. So when you actually move around, the pass-through where you can see the real-world environment, it's a lot worse. It used to be a lot worse on Meta, the Meta Quest 3. But I guess with the new push that they're coming out with, it's going to be a new software update. It says Quest software update version 64. Meta says that it has improved pass-through quality in the Meta Quest 3. So I guess a lot of people haven't gotten it yet. It's only pushed it to some people initially. A couple people that are getting it saying it's quite a bit better. So if you have one or if you're thinking about getting one, that's going to actually get better. We're going to see. Maybe check out some YouTube videos on that. We'll see how much better it gets, but still a good option if it's only $499. All right, the next one, here we go. Macs lead global PC growth as shipments return to pre-pandemic levels. See that? So, and down here, actually, let me just go to the chart here. It's a little bit easier to see here. You can see right in here. So here's the Mac, Apple's right here, right? I got that highlighted. So Q1 shipments, you can see here, Lenovo's leading, then HP, then Dell, and then Apple's down here, then Acer, then Asus, and then others. See that? Those are the shipments. The cool part here, though, Apple has about 8.1% of the market share. I guess that's globally. I don't know if that's in America or globally. I think globally overall. But you can see over here, it's actually increased shipments 14.6% over the last, the market share in quarter 2023. So it's actually going quite a bit up. Lenovo went up 7.8%, HP 0.2%, Dell's down 2.2%. Asus is down 4.5%. Others are down 5%. So Apple's got the huge, bigger growth than everybody else. So not a bad deal. Let's just hope it keeps continuing and we get a little bit more traction there, and Apple can maybe hit up to around 10%. We don't want too big of a, we don't want it to be too big because then all of a sudden you get a lot more viruses and stuff coming. That's my take on it. I want to keep it kind of a small club. All right, talk about sales. Again, we talked about this earlier, maybe a couple videos ago. Samsung brings back massive $700 discount on the Vifinity S9 5K right here. So obviously, there's the monitor. We've talked about it a lot, but $899 down from $1599. We've talked about this before. If it's $1599, get the studio display. At $899, I mean $700 off, then you got to add the additional tax on all that money. You're really, you're $700-800 off that now, almost, it's basically half the studio display. So I think at that price, this is a better monitor at that price. Obviously, it's got some features that are better. It's got the stand that can move and all that stuff, but I still think the studio for Mac users is a better quality screen. Overall, though, I think for that price, you can't go wrong, and if you can find it for that, it's the time to pick it up. And then finally, we'll wrap this up. If you're looking for an iMac like this, but the M3 version, there's some sales going on. And I'll click on it over here. Not great sales, but it's still, this is the time if you're looking for the M3. So it says that the Amazon takes $149 off the M3 iMac. So that's not bad, right? Considering they just came out not too long ago. Although I looked at it and I clicked on it over here. Let me just see if I can get to it. So here it is. It wasn't that much off, but there is a coupon. So you can see here it's $12.29 for the base model. It used to be $12.99. That's 5% off. So that's not the $100 and something. But then down here, there's a coupon for $79.01. I don't know what that 1 cent's for. You can apply that, and then obviously you're going to bring that down to 11 something, 11.50 or something. So it's getting down there for the M3 version, not the M1 version, the M3 version, which is key. So probably one of the best costs I've seen on it so far. So if you're looking for it, let's get it now. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. And like I said, have a good Friday or Saturday or whenever you're watching this. I guess it's probably going to be during the week for a lot of people. And this is, like I said, I'm just going to be doing this only in the weekends. I sit back. I like to have some fun, obviously, on a Friday or Saturday. Instead of going out, having some fun, I can sit here and do these podcasts. Eventually, I'm going to be doing these maybe live. We'll be doing these, I'll have to send out an announcement to everyone. I've never done that before. You guys tell me if you want that again. I need people to tell me. If no one's watching it, I won't do it. But I think it'll be kind of fun. We'll make this a little bit funner. We'll have some guests and stuff. We'll talk to everybody soon. Peace.